Welcome to our next conversation of the Wisdom Lovers. I am Aurora, and with me is Kadash.
Yeah.
We had a conversation this week where Kadash reminded me of one of Einstein's most common quotes. So I'm gonna read it, and I would love to go on a little journey today around this. So the quote is this one: "The most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or hostile universe." And even deeper, Albert Einstein understood and practiced the law of attraction. He advised, ask yourself one question: is it a friendly universe? If you expect disappointments and believe life is supposed to be hard, that's what you will experience. If you expect pleasant surprises and believe life can be easy and enjoyable, that's what you will experience. So what's your take on this, Aviv?
So the first part, it's another way to phrase the most basic or most fundamental decision of the consciousness, like the deepest aspect of free will. In the Kabbalah, also, it is phrased a bit differently. It is, or even in general, like the free will, is there free will or not? It's like a whole philosophical conversation that is multi-layered. And in some ways we do have free will, but maybe this is part of the illusion that we have free will, but actually the complexity shows that we have no free will. The complexity, I mean, if there are laws of nature, there are equations that can explain it all, the fact we haven't wrote or don't have a powerful enough computer to process this equation and predict what will be does not mean it is changeable. And maybe within that very complex existence, which including consciousness, part of the story we tell ourselves is that we have free will. And even our use of the definition of freedom, how we use it usually, it's around relative freedom. Let's say I'm adult now, so I'm free to do what I want, but I still cannot disappear and appear in another place. I cannot teleport. Or, for example, or I cannot
So in a way you're saying that the freedom is limited.
Yeah, like there is no real freedom. Like, but going to the essence of it, so there is a choice. And the choice is between options that give the feeling as if I'm free to choose. In the Kabbalah, it's like, it's all God. It's God choosing. Like, if one, so you can choose towards God or you can choose away from God. And
but if it's all God, how can I move closer or further away from it?
Exactly. It's God itself choosing actually through you. So it's just another layer of reality. It's like one of the worlds or planes of existence, maybe to call it.
So in a way that we are free to choose which plane we live in.
No, we exist in all of them. Our consciousness not necessarily aware in all of them. And like there is not necessarily alignment between the realm that choose decisions. For example, Sisyphus, that's I think who is Sartre, I think, wrote about him that he is the free of all men, because he knows that the next thing after he rolls the stone up the mountain and then it rolls down in the other side, he will roll it up again. And like into eternity, the same thing. It's like that knowing of what will be. And in a way, the freedom of having no choice, it saves you energy from having a dilemma, from thinking, what is it, that or that? There is a certain freedom in that. So many people are looking for someone to dominate them because they don't want to take responsibility for their choices. And then people can say, okay, this person telling me to do that, I will resist. So I feel even more empowered. So, but I mean, I will resist and I will say, I want to have more freedom. But it's a relative freedom. It's not going to an absolute freedom. And always, in essence, in a way, that's again back to the Kabbalah, always I'm free to choose whether, or even to Einstein quote, I'm free to choose how to interpret what I perceive. Is the world friendly or hostile? And yeah, do I choose towards God or away from God? Or what surrounding do I choose? The surrounding affect my will, but I can choose a surrounding that is more, that God is more present there or not. Because according to the Kabbalah, God is revealed in between the people, is that love that we feel, that is like the revelation of the light of God.
But now it comes up for me is, I think for many, especially those who have maybe experienced restrictions of religion, God doesn't necessarily represent love, like a loving God, but more like punishing, shaming.
Yeah, but that's religion. Kabbalah is not exactly religion.
So this is what you mean, like to move closer or further away from God, you're speaking of it specifically from Kabbalah.
Yeah, from Kabbalic terms, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, God as kind of like the Spinozian God. It's
one question.
Yeah.
You said Kabbalah is not a religion.
Yeah.
So it's more like an ancient text of self.
Oh,
what is Kabbalah?
It's many texts. It's ancient esoterics, which explores consciousness and the nature of existence, the universe. And it's a quite holistic theory of ancient times, kind of like the Vedanta, or like Kabbalah is very much related to Judaism, because it's from the same culture, same as Sufism, very related to Islam. But yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned another word, the Spinozism.
Yeah, like Spinoza have defined God in a way.
What is Spinoza?
Oh, a philosopher.
It's a philosopher. Okay.
Oh yeah. It's quite well known. So, and yeah, quite a brilliant one. And yeah, the idea that God is the reason of all reasons, and it's eternal, it have no limitation in space and time, and it's like it's the absolute being. It's like the object which is the ultimate subject. It's like both the ultimate object and the ultimate subject.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, this is the only thing that is. And Kabbalah kind of treats God like that, from that view. And the personalization of God, making it like a person, that is more symbolic. It's just to put it into language in a certain symbolism to understand some nuances. The religion, of course, took it too literally and lost the point. I mean, generally the religion. So anyway, that is referring to the sentence, like it's all a choice, whether it's friendly or hostile, this universe. But then the elaboration, there is like, it says there, if you expect that it is hostile, it will be. If you expect that it is friendly, it will be friendly. So with that, I actually disagree. If you expect, you will be disappointed. Like this is it's more the choice if it is friendly or hostile is like just an intention. It's creating gravity towards that direction, but it does not necessarily mean it will always play out that. And I will always have, again, a choice to choose how to interpret. And yeah, when I expect something, my psyche is fixed on the outcome, and it is limited to my ability to imagine, of course, also. And reality is beyond my ability to imagine. So at a certain point, almost certainly, I will be disappointed.
Yeah, it's also built on your judgment and your beliefs. So if, for example, some situation comes up in my life, it's in a way just my interpretation. Is it friendly, the situation that is coming up, or is it proving that the universe is hostile? But maybe actually what is happening is the best possible for me, because it's supporting me to change something that has become a habit but isn't very good, or something. Like if I lose my job or something, I might take it as, oh, like this is a hostile universe. But maybe it's because, like, not because, but maybe around the corner, what will come out of it is that I will fill my life with even more amazing job, or something else will surprise, like I will be surprised.
Yeah, and you can be surprised by yourself, by how you will meet that, even, like the fact you might know yourself better in a way. But to say, yeah, that would be the best thing that can happen for you. So it's a matter of interpretation, and it's not like best or worst. It's matter of judgment. It's not objective. So it in a way have no meaning in like objective meaning. So it just, what will happen will happen. Whatever will happen.
And then there's the tricky part. I know this in myself. Like, if I believe that it is a friendly universe, or that I am supposed to believe that it's a friendly universe.
Yeah.
And then something happens that is actually traumatic or tragic in my life. And I force myself to believe that this is for the best. And I keep repeating the mantra, like, yeah, it's all for the good, it's all good. I bypass my humanity. I bypass that actually there might be a need to go through the process of grieving and resisting and being angry, and in a way to integrate the experience.
I agree that this is a bypass. I would not call what you are bypassing on your humanity or a need, or like judge that there is that need, because it's just bypassing a certain part of what is. It's not coming into a holistic integration. Which in a way, yeah, it's conditioning the perception into a very narrow perspective, which is it's all good, or it's all like, or whatever mantra you keep on telling to yourself that it should be, so-called should be like that. Yeah, a lot of the positive thinking thing is actually, yeah, if I have negative thoughts, or I interpret reality as depressive, so I say, okay, so I will think positively in order to avoid feeling the depression. So I'm actually investing even more energy and adding more thoughts to deal with that, and it's even more exhausting the system instead of being more available to feel what is. And the fact, like to say there is a need to feel what is, need in order for, depends what are the goals. And to say that this depressive part is my humanity, this is limiting humanity to a very narrow definition, because the bypassing itself is also part of a human action.
Humanity was not the word that was, it's more like when I have in a way gotten into the loop of wanting to be super spiritual, or like to ascend, I'm in a way neglecting the humanness or the animal aspect, like the brokenness of being a human instead of being like totally divine, like creating the split in a way.
Yeah, but again, like, what is that part that wants to ascend if not a human part? And so you're not bypassing your humanity, because it is also part of the human. And to say the human part or the animal part, like, as the same thing, it's also like human have a particular uniqueness in the ability of abstract thinking. And this is exactly the thing. It's relate to the possibility to hold an idea that there is a transcendental realm. Like, I mean, there are few other animals that have quite evolved prefrontal cortex, like on the neocortex. Basically, dolphins and elephants have, I mean, elephants not as much the frontal part, but dolphins have quite evolved. So maybe they also can think actually about transcendental realms, but they have still a bit different brain.
So, is there a term that I can use instead to be in clarity with what I mean? Because I do get...
Just bypass certain part.
Bypassing a part, yeah.
Yeah.
Bypassing what I'm actually feeling.
A specific feeling, because you feel also the will to bypass.
Yeah.
It's avoiding something specific. What is that thing? You can call it in its name instead of generalizing it as like something that is not accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even maybe I don't know what is exactly that part that I'm bypassing. So to draw the outlines of it instead of just putting it in the same box. Oh, this is the humanity thing. It's actually supporting that bypassing in a way.
Yeah, it's blurring the lines. It's not supporting integration or like an integral meeting within myself.
Integration within the consciousness, like conscious recognition of that part. Yeah, so that's my take on Einstein's. I don't know if the second part was exactly said by him. I think it was interpretation of it by someone.
Oh, it's 12 o'clock. Yeah, I think it's an interpretation.
Yeah, because it
by Fern Ronai.
Yeah, because it sounds less sharp than the actual quote.
Yeah. It just like elaborates on a different, brings it into a different way of thinking, which I think is quite common. Like just that we are fully responsible. We are always manifesting. Yeah, like I read a post by a spiritual teacher this week that is facing some health challenges. And he was sharing like so much meeting the attitude of like, oh, you're manifesting this, you're just like do positive thinking, or just like where's the balance? Like how the balance between actually influencing our state and our feelings towards something that is more uplifting or high vibration or whatever to call it. And when to really allow ourselves to feel the depths. Like when are we getting stuck in the muck and when are we bypassing? How to navigate that.
It throws me back to a memory. Quite a significant point in my awakening journey. When I was in mid school, I really remember the moment. I was very depressed for like 2 years. I was going lower and lower and lower. And I was thinking at that time daily about maybe I will suicide, because I tried to find the meaning for this life and just didn't find. There it was the time I got into philosophy. My surrounding was very like mainstream atheistic society. So the only spirituality I was introduced to was the fundamentalist religion, or like traditional, that is it have a heart in it, but I was very let's say I needed the reason, like I needed the ratio to understand that it makes sense. Because there is the heart, but maybe love itself is actually a manipulation on each other. So I needed to understand that it will make sense for me. And what was available for me was philosophy. And I started to read a lot. Spinoza was one of the more inspiring ones that I've read back then. But I remember it was actually mostly inspired by David Hume, which talked about the essence, that everything have an essence, and also the self have an essence. And that was, for me, that brought the first glimpse of inspiration. Like there my awakening in a way started, the awakening of my consciousness. And then a couple of days later in school, it clicked. Because I experienced suffer in life. Life is suffer. I experienced it very deeply. I experienced in the sense that I could cut myself and it would be very minor comparing to the suffer I feel. So it's like not a problem really to cut myself. If it, like I could make on myself surgery if needed. And it then I took it further. Or even just to seeing like pain is actually just a sensation, and I can interpret it as pain, which is associated as something to avoid of, or as just a sensation. And therefore I can sense when I cut my leg, but still I can choose to not contract from it, for example. Same emotionally. Suffer is just a feeling. I can interpret a feeling as suffer, and then there is association with suffer, trying to avoid from it. Or I can just feel it. And there I was, like that was where and I remember that day. I remember exactly where I stood and the time of the day. It was like there was the ring to go back to the class, and I was exactly thinking, oh, maybe I steal my father's gun and shoot myself in the head. Kind of like that was the last thought.
And what was your age?
It was mid-school, like 14, 15 there. 15. Yeah. Because I heard just a moment before a story that someone said that they put scratching powder in someone's ear and that someone suffered so much from it that someone shoot himself in the ear and died from it. And I thought, yeah, maybe that would be the way to end it. And then I observed that thought and I said, oh, but wait, don't go for it yet. Maybe there is still a chance to have a positive experience in life. And that idea, yeah, I heard about positive thinking. Yeah, try to make a positive thinking instead of life sucks. But then I felt it's like, okay, so now I actually suppress the negative thoughts and invest in positive thoughts. But the negative thoughts does not disappear. They are there. So I invest both energy in the negative thoughts and the positive thoughts. And because there are negative thoughts, the positive thoughts cannot get rid of the negative thoughts. They are both. So the positive thoughts will even not work. So I will actually suffer more because I now even more try and will not succeed. So it's better even not to try in a way. And that inspired me. Because in that moment I realized, same like pain is just a sensation and suffer is just a feeling, the perception on reality is just thinking. And the negative perception is just an interpretation. It's just way of thinking. And yeah, I can think something different, but maybe there is that possibility, and that is again inspired by David Hume, that he brought that concept of essence. Maybe I can be fully conscious without investing energy in any thought. And that was for me like the first time I had a practical hope. I became obsessive on that. I started to practice. I called it conscious unthinking. It's a practice I've invented back then. Later I discovered there is something called meditation in the Vedanta tradition, or stopping the inner talking in shamanism. Later I discovered actually I haven't invented it for the first time. Many knows about it, but that was the moment I kind of invented that for myself and really started to practice like crazy, like 8 hours a day for some years.
And do you see this moment as a shift from your belief, coming from believing that the world is a hostile place into that it's more of a friendly place?
No, it's coming from a point that the world is a hostile place and transcending beyond that duality.
So leaning towards neither.
Yeah, neutrality. Yeah, not to judge if it's good or bad. And I actually find there the most liberating act. But still, something influences that realization or that decision. Of course, once I have understood it, so I was focused on how can I quiet my mind while staying conscious, which means not falling asleep. And surrounding can influence. Surrounding can support. Surrounding environment can support or disturb. And environment can be also what habits I choose to include or exclude. But also
in a way our body is an environment.
Yeah. Yeah, but also people. Yeah. So, yeah, for me it wasn't exactly a choice that, now the world is friendly. That came for me way later when I was saturated with the neutrality and kind of feeling a certain degree of identification with Zoroaster.
What is that?
A character from the story of Nietzsche. Nietzsche wrote a book, so said Zoroaster. It's an ancient prophet. He was sitting on the top of the mountain for 10 years. Got to that very enlightened state, or like Buddha that sat under the tree, and at a certain point choosing to come down to the people and let's say gently and merge or become dirty or like touch with all that shit that is there, all that impurity.
Instead of rising above it all.
Yeah, to become involved with it. And that choice is to choose to invest energy in, okay, I'll put my maximum effort on making this world as a friendly place, making this world a better place.
So how many years ago was that?
About 6 years ago. I mean, that choice came for me from the beginning, but to make this world a better place, it took me many years to focus on myself, to rest in that center point. And once I felt I am stable in that point, that even interaction with a person cannot really move me out of there, it's like it's just little ripples, then it was time to take it to another degree of like focus all the will on that.
Can you just explain a little bit your experience of the center point? Like, what is the state that you feel like the ripples? What is the center point?
The center point, it's like being in meditation, sitting. Just that. The ultimate witness. Being identified with that.
So being able to feel and be aware of that state, that part. Like consciousness while engaging.
Yeah, first of, I mean, my engagement was very minimal. Like, very minimal.
In what way?
I was mostly alone, meditating. Sometimes meet people, not so much. Sometimes studying something. Sometimes I need to take care of the body. But not so much interacting with people, just the minimum necessary. Or sometimes beyond necessary, but very little. And yeah, and then with some people it can be easier to stay in a feeling of connection, like feeling in center, and very gently opening up to more and more until I feel stable in meeting basically any person and staying in center. Took me many years of meditation for that. Yeah, like almost 2 decades to really like, or decade and a half maybe, to really feel like, okay, now I can go in the city and see many people and stay and be the whole, like without avoiding feeling them fully, without avoiding what is in presence around me. And
do you feel that now that you can, like, do you lean in to meet all kinds of people or be surrounded by different types, and that you can be in center?
So
whatever type of person you meet or behavior or...
So that's what I said. That's then came, after I rested in the center, came the kind of the next degree, like the choice to choose to make it a positive wall by action, like beyond myself. Like I felt saturated with my practice. I've reached a certain plateau of how much I can be centered. Now it is to spring from the center. So it is, focusing all the will on one point, which is now not the center, but it is in a way the opposite of center, the wholeness. Like so.
And I guess that's like a practice to move with the center into all kind of disturbances, to say.
Yeah.
And to meet the challenges that arise and hold point for the center in those moments.
Yeah. The beginning of that practice for me was so, of course, after some years of sitting, then I said, okay, I'll try standing. So suddenly more joints involved, so attention goes into balance and more like, I mean, ultimately is to lay down, because then I can be fully relaxed, but then I can fall asleep. So it's then first to find in the sitting position a state where I can fully relax like in sleep. So it is to work on the balance. But then I can find a posture where the vertebrates sit on each other like cubes, tower of cubes. And there is enough balance also to contain the breathing. But when standing, I must use muscles. I cannot be fully relaxed. So now it's different. And then movement, and then sound with it. And
you making sound or receiving sound?
No, making. Receiving doesn't matter. This is before, this is in the first stage. It's just not to be reactive to any external input. This is before meditation. Even.
So it's performing movement, performing sounds.
Yeah. And then doing things like that have purpose, that are technical, that like cleaning the place, or reading something, or writing something, or even which involves words which are tricky, but it's possible. But then when it comes to an interaction with a person, this is way more difficult, and still it can be then interaction, but without involving the face and meeting the eyes and like talking, thinking, but it can be just bodies, motion of bodies. And then the next is looking in the eyes and like involving the face expressions. And the last thing is actually talking with thinking. Like that is the what, like live with a person. This is the most challenging for staying in that state. So back in those years, I was half year retreating alone somewhere in nature, and then half year practicing meeting people. And then like for 12 years, I've done like that. Until I felt, okay, I can do that. And since then, slowly more and more and more, at a certain point, I went into a very deep retreat of 2.5 years practice with not completely alone. I mean, I lived alone, but I was in a house and not somewhere in nature.
But the previous retreats were in nature, right? And
Yeah.
it's 12-year period.
Yeah, where I don't see people around also. But there were people around. I just didn't meet so much. And then, yeah, it was like the practice reached a certain plateau. And it was time to go out. Also, 2.5 years celibacy is, that was kind of like the sacrifice for the rest of the merits of the practice. Yeah, then I opened. That was about 6 years ago. So that is maybe for me where I chose this is a friendly universe. But stopping to choose it is a hostile was 20 something years ago, like 25 more actually. So it took many years in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like 2 decades. Kind of not choosing that it is a hostile is coming to an objective approach instead of subjective, which is either it's hostile or friendly, it's subjective interpretation. But objectively, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not good or bad.
So I'm curious, what are your discoveries? What are your results so far after choosing the second belief of being a friendly universe?
I would not phrase it like choosing the second belief. That because again, that choice was from the beginning, but the direction was towards the neutrality, and now the will was focused towards the neutrality, but the choice was preferring, friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And it just led me to find my center more and more and more.
So I'm more referring to the last 6 years. Bring in some key harvest from that time.
I don't know exactly what you mean. Like, it's very general for me. I don't know, you maybe more specific.
Just curious how, in a similar way as you have shared now your experience from previous times, like your discoveries and some insights, and like
I'm still in it.
You're in it, and that's why I say so far. Like, what are the high discoveries from that exploration? Do you sometimes feel that you just want to go back?
Sometimes there is that nostalgic feeling about going to retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's still like, so you're getting something out of it, like it is serving you. So in what way is it serving you to come out of this retreat and complete still point within yourself, like, and to take on that challenge?
It's feeling the connection with that human part, maybe to say, which means with people. And not just nature without people. And yeah, and it brings, all the good things that can come from being connected to people.
And what are these good things?
Actually, there are no good things. No. What are these things? In essence, it's love. But, love in that form, in the personal form, beautiful connections, but it's also impact, like me living as a human matters, rather than it's just an avatar passing here in this planet, handling with the suffer, coming into bliss, and it's like, and then what? Okay, I'm in bliss, but then what? And in the long retreats, there were two things that were deep, something deep that is not met. Constantly, every time I went to a retreat. Like after 3 months of being alone, they become more visible, more clear. One is the sense of meaning as a human, which means, do I influence this humanity to become better, or do I just let it stay in its state and people will handle it, like not taking part in that game?
In a way, separating yourself from
them, kind of like. And yeah, from that human part. Them is only humans. Some domesticated animal maybe can come into that category as well, but it's because the human influence on them was so big. And of course also human produced object. So yeah, separating myself from that in a way. Because seeing how this harmonic impact it have on the rest of the ecologic balance. And also of the subtle realms of like emotionally and the mentally. So that's one thing. The other thing is a certain nourishment that of more like a denser energy that it's particularly nourishing in lovemaking or like sexual energy, or or in a hug, like that physical warmth that comes with love, with passion, like that is even in larger dose. I took long fasting from that as well, and at a certain point it's like becoming thirsty to that. So these are basically the two things that were not met when I was retreating. Then when I met people, I could nourish the part that of the physical sexual energy or sensual, but the other part of impactful meaning of existence as human was not like, I didn't go there fully, because it was more the idea, oh, I'm just one person in front of billions of people. It's insignificant to even try, and the emotional price is too big. It's like, it's just impossible in a way. But after I reached that plateau and just chose anyway to do that, because it's like there's nothing else left, then I realized that I'm actually not alone, that other made that choice as well. And there are some others. And in a way, I feel very much together with these people, even some I haven't met, but it feels very intimate. So it is something beautiful, I feel, to meet. And in a way, before that choice, I was like on the top of the mountain. I was in a way above, more aware. But after that choice, I realized, oh, I'm in the bottom of the hierarchy of those who choose to come with compassion to this planet, to this humanity. And there are some that they are like masters of compassion.
So do you find that is like a key for your ongoing journey now, is compassion?
It's the main practice. It's like, yeah, it's the most challenging thing to master in, I think.
And how many do you think these people are on planet Earth right now?
How many?
Do you have a sense?
Like thousands? Some thousands.
Have you met many of them?
Not many, just few.
How is it to meet? Is it like we see in the cartoons, fairy tales, like a dragon or animal that was like thought it was distinct, and then suddenly it meets another of its type? Is it similar to that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I know about more that I haven't met, and I know there are much more that I don't know about. But in a way, it doesn't matter, because there is even more intimate feeling of meeting that exists, I don't know how to say it, like in another realm, without the need even to meet physically.
And I'm wondering, because you are choosing to spend quite a lot of time with me these days and in the last few months. It's in a way, seems weird to me. Rather, like, why not to choose to spend more time with another dinosaur or another animal of your species, like where you are met in that way? But then the thought comes like, okay, if you would choose that, it would less support you to come meet the humanity. It would, in a way, just find another still point to be in still point.
Yeah, it's like that choice, instead of focusing the will on the center, now it is focusing on the opposite of it.
So that's what I am.
On the wholeness. No,
Yeah. Yeah,
you define yourself
I'm
like
joking.
that. But it's not trying to go into, okay, yeah, let's meet and become us together in front of other togethernesses that exist. But okay, we know we are together fully. We don't need to play it anymore. It's just to expand it to include everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it might take many generations. I don't know. Most likely. But still, that's the direction.
I feel much gratitude for you stepping out or stepping down from the mountain. I feel much gratitude for having met you in this way. It's like reading about people that have had such experiences and live from that perspective of consciousness, or like in that state of consciousness, reading about it, or reading wisdom from these big teachers, or sitting in a hall or watching a lecture through the internet or something, but like actually meeting that in the personal realm is super precious. At least there's one of the human the humanity that that feels very blessed from your existence.
Thank you.
And the impact and influence. I mean, and that's one of the main reasons why I want to do this, to sit down with you and record our conversations, because I don't know how many times we've had conversations and I'm like, this is not just for me. And it's more you transmitting or you sharing your teachings or wisdom, feeling how much it impacts me. It's like, makes no sense that this is just going into me. It's like, where are the other people that should be receiving this? So yeah, this is a step.
Yeah, it comes to whoever is in that moment. I mean, now, yeah, it's more available to more people with that recording.
Yeah.
And I don't know if to call this conversation as that teaching. I mean, it's it can come in any way. But maybe people can be inspired by this conversation. And I know I'm not the only one also who say these things. Or more to say, coming from that perspective. That is like, how even to define it, that unified perspective.
And still you have something unique to bring.
Yeah, it's uniquely expressed through me, but it's the same essence that come through many others. I mean, many is relative, but others as well. And in a way, it comes also through people who have not done the shift or transition, but then it just, the scale is more like it's more used for certain glamour rather than its essence. But it still is also there.
You ready to conclude?
Yeah,
or
Yeah.
something burning that you want to share with the whole world through this podcast?
Yeah.
To all the listeners out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So another hour for that. How to say it in a sentence or two. I wish that people feel the suffer that exists, not only their own suffer, which includes also the suffer that is repressed within them, not only that, but the suffer of people around them, and the suffer of people far from them in societies that life there is horrible, sometimes often, and the suffer of so many creatures, so many other animals. Like even maybe first of all, the animals that are grown in food industry. This is worse than the Holocaust in the amount of suffer it generates. But also, animals in the wild, species are disappearing. And even the suffer of the moss and the plants and the algae and the mycelia, like, it's another type of suffer. It's not nerve system exactly, but it's in a way the planet suffers. To open, to feel that. And I know it can be overwhelming, but this is a doorway. Like feeling the planetary suffer is a doorway to feel the planetary feelings. And in essence, the feelings are differentiated from love. So, yeah, it's the way to open up to feel the planetary love. And it's huge. It's same like the suffer is bigger than one can contain, so the love as well. So don't be afraid that this huge amount of suffer will be so heavy that you cannot hold it and you will fall down, because you will fall into the hugging hands of this planet that will hug you with its love.